Her twin daughters need heart surgery, but the only surgeon is the billionaire CEO who abandoned them. There's only one surgeon in the country who has successfully performed this specific procedure on children this young. Who? I'll pay anything, do anything. Dr. Harrison Chun. He's the leading pediatric cardiac surgeon for complex congenital defects. He's performed this surgery 12 times with a 100% success rate. The color drains from her face. No. Anyone else? There has to be someone else. Mrs. Chun, I understand this is overwhelming, but your daughters don't have time for second choices. Without this surgery in the next 2 weeks, Maya and Grace will die. Sarah's voice breaking. You don't understand. Harrison Chun, he's their father, and he has no idea they exist. Have you ever had to face someone who broke your heart? Have you ever had to choose between your pride and your children's lives? Tonight, we're diving into a story about impossible choices and the lengths a mother will go to save her children. What happens when the person you hate most in the world is the only one who can save what you love most? When professional duty collides with personal pain. Sarah thought she'd moved on, until her daughters' lives depended on the man who destroyed her. Can love heal wounds that run deeper than betrayal? Can forgiveness bloom in the soil of desperation? Stay with me, because this story will show you that sometimes our greatest enemies become our most unexpected saviors. If stories about the power of a parent's love and second chances speak to your soul, hit that like button right now. And if you believe in the healing power of forgiveness, subscribe to Lux Love Chronicles with Mr. Wentworth for more stories that will restore your faith in human goodness. The autumn afternoon was perfect for soccer, crisp air, golden leaves dancing on the breeze, and the excited shouts of 7-year-olds chasing a black and white ball across the emerald field. Sarah Chin sat in the bleachers, her camera ready to capture every moment of her daughter's game, a thermos of hot coffee warming her hands against the October chill. Maya was their team's star midfielder, fearless and fast, her dark ponytail streaming behind her as she dribbled past defenders with the same determination she brought to everything in life. Grace, more cautious but equally skilled, played defense with surgical precision, anticipating plays before they developed. That's my girls, Sarah called out as Maya scored their second goal of the game, pumping her fist in celebration. The twins had started playing soccer only 6 months ago, but they'd taken to it with the same intensity they applied to everything: school, art projects, helping in Sarah's small flower shop. At 7 years old, they were already showing the drive and intelligence that reminded Sarah daily of their father, though she tried not to think about that particular genetic inheritance. Go Maya, go Grace, shouted the other parents from the sidelines, the girls having quickly become favorites among their teammates and families. Sarah smiled, pulling her jacket tighter against the wind. Life wasn't easy as a single mother running a small business, but moments like these made every struggle worthwhile. The twins were happy, healthy, thriving, everything she'd worked so hard to provide them. Maya had just stolen the ball from an opponent and was charging toward the goal when it happened. One moment she was running full speed, her face lit with competitive joy. The next, she stumbled, clutched her chest, and collapsed to the grass as if someone had cut the strings holding her up. Maya, Sarah vaulted over the bleacher railing, her coffee spilling forgotten as she sprinted across the field. By the time she reached her daughter, Maya was unconscious, her lips tinged with an alarming shade of blue. The coach was already on his phone with 911, while other parents formed a protective circle around the little girl. Maya, sweetheart, can you hear me? Sarah dropped to her knees beside her daughter, checking for a pulse with hands that shook despite her nursing training. Come on, baby, wake up for Mama. Grace appeared at her side, her face white with terror. Mama, what's wrong with Maya? Why won't she wake up? Before Sarah could answer, Grace swayed on her feet, her own face going pale. I don't feel good, Mama. My chest hurts. Sarah caught Grace just as she started to fall, her mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. Two healthy children didn't just collapse simultaneously unless something was seriously wrong. The paramedics arrived within minutes, their efficient movements both reassuring and terrifying as they worked on Maya while Sarah held Grace, who was conscious but clearly struggling. What are their symptoms? The lead paramedic asked as they loaded Maya onto a stretcher. Maya just collapsed during the game. Grace says her chest hurts, and she nearly fainted too. Sarah climbed into the ambulance, Grace in her arms, watching as they placed an oxygen mask over Maya's small face. They've never had any health problems. Nothing like this. Any family history of heart conditions. Sarah's breath caught. She didn't know. She'd never had the chance to ask about Harrison's family medical history before he disappeared from their lives. I'm not sure. The ride to Children's Hospital felt like hours instead of minutes. Maya remained unconscious while Grace drifted in and out of awareness, both girls' conditions clearly deteriorating despite the paramedics' efforts. "Please," Sarah whispered, holding Grace's small hand while watching Maya's still form. "Please let them be okay." The emergency room at Children's Hospital was a controlled chaos of medical personnel, beeping machines, and worried families. Sarah sat in the family consultation room, having been asked to wait while doctors examined both twins, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Dr. Jennifer Peterson entered the room with the careful expression Sarah had learned to dread during her years as a pediatric nurse, the look that meant bad news delivered with professional compassion. "Mrs. Chun, I'm Dr. Peterson, the attending cardiologist. I've been examining Maya and Grace. Are they okay? What's wrong with them?" Dr. Peterson sat across from Sarah, her manner gentle but direct. "Both girls have a rare congenital heart defect called double outlet right ventricle with complex associated anomalies. Essentially, their hearts are not properly formed. The condition is genetic, present from birth, but symptoms often don't manifest until stress is placed on the cardiovascular system." Sarah felt the room spin around her. "But they've always been healthy. They play soccer, they run, they've never had any problems. The human body is remarkably adaptable, especially in children. Their hearts have been compensating for the defect, but that compensation is failing now. Without surgical intervention, both girls will experience increasing heart failure." "Surgery? What kind of surgery?" "A complete reconstruction of both hearts. It's one of the most complex procedures in pediatric cardiac surgery." Dr. Peterson's expression grew more serious. "Mrs. Chun, I need you to understand the gravity of this situation. Without this surgery, performed soon, Maya and Grace will not survive." The words hit Sarah like physical blows. Her beautiful, vibrant daughters, the lights of her life, were dying, and she'd had no idea anything was wrong. "How soon? When can you do the surgery?" "That's the complication. This particular procedure requires a very specific skill set. There are only a handful of surgeons worldwide who have successfully performed this operation on children this young. But you can do it, right? This is one of the best children's hospitals in the country." Dr. Peterson hesitated, and Sarah's heart sank further. "I'm skilled in pediatric cardiac surgery, but this defect, it requires someone with very specialized experience. There's only one surgeon in the country who has successfully performed this specific procedure on children Maya and Grace's age." "Who?" "I'll pay anything, do anything. Dr. Harrison Chun. He's the leading pediatric cardiac surgeon for complex congenital defects at Manhattan Medical Center. He developed the technique for correcting this particular anomaly. He's performed this surgery 12 times with a 100% success rate." The name hit Sarah like lightning. Harrison Chun. The man who'd shared her bed and her dreams 8 years ago. The man who'd promised her forever and then disappeared when she needed him most. The father of the daughters he'd never met. No. The word escaped her lips before she could stop it. "Anyone else? There has to be someone else." Dr. Peterson looked confused. "Mrs. Chun, I understand this is overwhelming, but your daughters don't have time for second choices. The defect is progressing rapidly. Without this surgery in the next 2 weeks, Maya and Grace will die." Sarah's world tilted on its axis. Her daughters needed the one man she'd sworn never to see again. The man who'd abandoned her when she was pregnant and scared and desperately in love. The man who'd chosen his career over their family before he even knew there would be a family. "Dr. Peterson, I need you to understand something." Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. "Harrison Chun, he's their father, and he has no idea they exist." That night, Sarah sat in the hospital room watching her daughters sleep, both girls now connected to monitors that tracked their struggling hearts. Maya was stable but weak, while Grace had developed a slight irregular rhythm that had the nurses checking on her every 15 minutes. 8 years. 8 years since she'd last seen Harrison's face, heard his voice, felt the devastating combination of love and betrayal that his presence brought. 8 years since she'd made the hardest decision of her life, to raise his children alone rather than beg for scraps of attention from a man who'd made it clear his priorities lay elsewhere. She remembered the last conversation they'd had, standing in the apartment they'd shared for 6 months, 6 months of what she'd thought was building toward forever. "I'm pregnant," she'd told him, her hands shaking as she held the positive test. His face had gone completely blank. "Pregnant? How is that possible? We were careful." "Careful isn't perfect. And Harrison, I know this is unexpected, but maybe it's a sign. Maybe this is our chance to build something real together." But even as she'd spoken the words, she'd seen him pulling away, his expression shifting from shock to what looked almost like panic. "Sarah, the timing, it's impossible. I'm about to start my residency at Johns Hopkins. I'll be working 100-hour weeks for the next 5 years. I can't. We can't." "Can't what?" "Can't be a family. I never promised you forever. I never said I was ready for marriage and children," and he'd run his hands through his hair, a gesture she'd once found endearing and now saw as a sign of his retreat. "Maybe we should take a break. Figure out what we both really want. I know what I want. I want you. I want us. I want this baby. And I want to be a surgeon. I want to save lives, to make a difference. I can't do that with the responsibilities of a family holding me back." The words had cut deeper than any scalpel. Holding him back. That's what she was to him, an obstacle to his ambitions rather than a partner in building a life. He'd packed his things that night, left money on the counter, money she'd been too proud to touch, money that had sat there for weeks like an accusation. He'd walked out of their apartment and out of her life without a backward glance. She'd never told him she was having twins. Never called to say Maya was born first, screaming and perfect, followed 3 minutes later by Grace, quiet and observant even from birth. Never shared the sleepless nights, the first smiles, the first words, "Mama" for both of them, since there was no dada to speak of. Now, watching her daughters fight for their lives, Sarah faced an impossible choice. Contact the man who'd shattered her heart and beg him to save the children he'd never wanted? Swallow 8 years of pride and pain for the sake of Maya and Grace. "Mama." Grace's small voice interrupted her thoughts. "Are we going to be okay?" Sarah moved to her daughter's bedside, smoothing dark hair that was so much like Harrison's it sometimes took her breath away. "Of course you are, sweetheart. Mama's going to make sure of it. Will Maya wake up soon?" "Soon, baby. She's just resting so her body can get stronger." Grace nodded solemnly, her 7-year-old mind trying to process concepts too big for childhood. "Mama, why don't we have a daddy like Emma and Sophie?" The question she'd been dreading for years, asked at the worst possible moment. "Some families are different, Gracie. Some families are just mama and children, and that can be just as wonderful. But if we had a daddy, would he help us get better?" Sarah's heart broke and healed simultaneously. Yes, if they had a daddy, their daddy, he might be the only one who could help them get better. But contacting Harrison meant opening doors she'd sealed shut, risking wounds she'd spent years healing. But looking at Grace's trusting face, at Maya's still form in the next bed, Sarah knew there was no choice at all. Her pride, her pain, her carefully constructed life, none of it mattered compared to her daughters' lives. Maybe he would, sweetheart. Maybe he would. The next morning, Sarah stood outside the gleaming glass tower that housed Manhattan Medical Center's cardiac surgery department, her hands trembling as she clutched the folder containing Maya and Grace's medical records. She'd been standing there for 20 minutes, trying to find the courage to walk through those doors. Dr. Harrison Chun, according to the hospital website, was now the youngest department head in the hospital's history. His bio read like a fairy tale of medical achievement. Graduated top of his class from Harvard Medical School, completed his residency at Johns Hopkins in record time, pioneered multiple surgical techniques, published extensively in medical journals. There was a photo of him on the website, older now, his face more angular, success and authority written in every line. But his eyes were the same deep brown that Maya and Grace had inherited, the same eyes that had once looked at her with love. "Excuse me, are you going in?" a woman in scrubs asked, approaching the entrance. "Yes," Sarah said, though her feet felt rooted to the sidewalk. "Yes, I am." The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like ascending to judgment. Sarah's reflection in the polished steel doors showed a woman who'd aged well despite the struggles. Her nursing training had taught her to take care of herself, and running her flower shop kept her active. But she felt like the scared 24-year-old who'd been abandoned by the man she loved. The cardiac surgery department was all sleek lines and expensive finishes, the kind of place that whispered of money and prestige. The receptionist, a polished woman in her 40s, looked up with professional courtesy. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I need to see Dr. Chun. It's an emergency regarding my daughters. They need surgery that only he can perform. Dr. Chin's schedule is completely booked for the next 3 months. If you'd like to submit your daughter's case for review." "You don't understand." Sarah leaned forward, desperation creeping into her voice. "My daughters will die without this surgery. Dr. Peterson at Children's Hospital said Dr. Chun is the only surgeon who can save them." The receptionist's expression softened slightly. "Let me see what I can do. May I have your name?" "Sarah Chun. And tell him it's about Maya and Grace." 20 minutes later, Sarah was led down a hallway lined with awards and commendations to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind an imposing mahogany desk sat the man who'd once been her whole world. Harrison looked up from the chart he was reviewing, and time stopped. 8 years collapsed into nothing as they stared at each other across a space that felt both infinite and impossibly small. He was older, more distinguished, success having carved confidence into his features. But for just a moment, before his professional mask slipped into place, Sarah saw shock, recognition, and something that might have been pain flicker across his face. "Hello, Harrison." "Sarah." His voice was carefully controlled, giving nothing away. "This is unexpected. I need your help." She placed the medical files on his desk with hands that shook despite her efforts to stay calm. "My daughters, Maya and Grace. They need surgery that only you can perform." Harrison opened the files, his expert eyes scanning the test results and diagnosis. She watched his expression change as he processed the information, saw the moment when the medical implications hit him. Double outlet right ventricle with complex associated anomalies. These children will need complete cardiac reconstruction. He looked up at her, and for a moment, his professional facade cracked. "Sarah, these are 7-year-old girls. This condition, it's genetic. Usually inherited from their father." Sarah's voice was steady despite the storm raging inside her. "Yes, Harrison, they're your daughters. Maya and Grace are your children." The words hung in the air between them like a physical presence. Harrison's face went completely pale, his hands stilling on the medical charts. "My daughters, born 8 months after you left. Identical twins who look exactly like you and need your expertise to live." Harrison stood abruptly, walking to the windows as if he needed distance to process what she'd told him. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse with emotion. "You never told me. You made it clear you didn't want the responsibility of children. You said starting a family would hold you back from your career. 1 child, Sarah? You told me you were pregnant with 1 child. I didn't know about the twins yet. I was only 6 weeks along when you decided our future wasn't worth fighting for." He turned back to face her, and Sarah saw something she'd never expected, genuine pain in his eyes. "So you decided to cut me out completely? To raise my children without giving me a choice? You made your choice." 8 years of suppressed anger finally exploded. "You chose your career over us before you even knew there was an US to choose. You walked away from me, from our relationship, from any possibility of a family because it didn't fit your timeline. I was 26 years old, about to start the most demanding residency program in the country, and I was 24, pregnant, and terrified. But I didn't run away. I didn't decide that loving someone was too inconvenient for my life plans." They stared at each other across the years of hurt and misunderstanding, both breathing hard from the emotional explosion. Finally, Harrison's voice broke the silence, quiet and raw. "What are their names?" "Maya and Grace. Maya Chun and Grace Chun. They have your last name. They have their mother's last name because their father wasn't there to give them his." Harrison sank back into his chair, running his hands through his hair in the gesture she remembered so well. "Tell me about them. About my daughters." Despite everything, the pain, the anger, the years of silence, Sarah found herself softening at the genuine emotion in his voice. Maya is fearless. She's the one who climbs the highest trees, tries the hardest puzzles, stands up to bullies twice her size. She plays soccer like she's afraid of nothing. Sarah's voice caught. She collapsed during a game yesterday. Just fell down and stopped breathing. And Grace. Grace is thoughtful. She watches everything, thinks before she speaks, takes care of everyone around her. She's the one who remembers to feed our neighbor's cat when he's away, who saves her allowance to buy presents for other people. Tears started flowing freely now. She nearly fainted trying to help Maya. Her heart is failing too. Harrison was quiet for a long moment, studying the medical charts with the intensity she remembered from their college days when he'd tackled every challenge with single-minded focus. The surgery is extremely complex. 7 to 8 hours for each child, multiple procedures, significant risks. Can you do it? Can you save them? He looked up at her, and in his eyes she saw the man she'd once loved warring with the stranger he'd become. Yes, he said finally. I can save them. The question is, will you let me? The question hung between them, loaded with 8 years of pain and the desperate hope of a mother who would do anything to save her children. I don't have a choice, Sarah whispered. You're their only chance. There's always a choice, Sarah. You could have called me sooner. You could have told me about them when they were born. You could have what? Interrupted your brilliant career to tell you about children you never wanted? The anger was back, fueled by years of justified resentment. Should I have called when Maya took her first steps? When Grace said her first word? When they asked why all their friends had daddies and they didn't? Harrison's jaw tightened. You don't know what I would have done. You never gave me the chance to find out. You showed me exactly what you would have done when you walked away from a pregnancy you didn't know about. I was scared. The admission burst out of him, raw and unexpected. I was 26 years old, about to embark on the most challenging program of my life, and suddenly faced with a responsibility I never planned for. Yes, I handled it badly. Yes, I was selfish and immature. But you never gave me the chance to grow up, to become the man who could handle it. I was scared too, Sarah shot back. Scared and alone and pregnant, and instead of having a partner to face it with, I had empty promises and money left on my counter like payment for services rendered. The words hit their target. Harrison winced as if she'd slapped him. The money was. I was trying to help. I didn't know how else. How else to what? Ease your guilt? Make sure I wouldn't come back and complicate your perfect plan. Make sure you had what you needed. I knew you'd be too proud to ask for help, but I wanted to be sure you could take care of yourself and the baby. I didn't need your money, Harrison. I needed you. The simple statement carried the weight of 8 years of raising children alone, of midnight fevers and first day of school photos with only one parent, of Christmas mornings and birthday parties where she was always the only adult present. Harrison was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer, more vulnerable than she remembered. I think about that night sometimes. Wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed, if I'd been brave enough to choose love over ambition. Do you? Sarah couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. Because it looked like you never looked back. I looked back. He met her eyes directly. I looked back every day for the first year. I picked up the phone to call you at least 100 times. But you never did. No, I never did. Because I was a coward who convinced himself you were better off without me. Sarah studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or false sincerity, but all she saw was genuine regret. Maybe I was better off. Maybe we all were. You got your brilliant career, your success, your perfect life without complications. My life isn't perfect, Sarah. Success isn't the same thing as happiness. And my children needed a father, not a donation. Our children, he corrected quietly. They're our children, Sarah. I know I have no right to claim them after all this time, but the biology doesn't change because I was absent. The possessive pronoun hit her unexpectedly. Our children. She'd been the sole guardian, protector, provider, and parent for so long that sharing that identity felt foreign and frightening. Biology doesn't make you a father, Harrison. Being there does. Showing up does. Love does. Then let me show up now. He leaned forward, his eyes intense with an emotion she couldn't quite read. Let me love them now. They're dying, she said bluntly. This isn't about you getting a chance to play daddy. This is about whether you can save their lives. I know that. And yes, I can save them. I will save them. His voice carried the confidence that had once attracted her to him, the certainty that he could conquer any challenge through sheer will and skill. But Sarah, after the surgery, after they're healthy, I want to be part of their lives. You want to be part of their lives? Just like that? After 8 years of nothing, you want to walk in and be their father? I want to try. I want the chance to be the man I should have been 8 years ago. Sarah stood abruptly, pacing to the windows that overlooked the city below. Somewhere out there were her daughters, lying in hospital beds, their hearts failing while she and their father argued about custody that might be moot if he couldn't save them. This isn't about you, Harrison. This isn't about what you want or what you think you deserve. This is about Maya and Grace and what's best for them. What's best for them is having both parents who love them. They don't know you exist. The words exploded out of her. They've never asked about you because I told them their father was gone, that he couldn't be part of our family. How do I explain that he was here all along, living 2 hours away, building his perfect life, while they grew up wondering why they weren't enough to make someone stay? Harrison went very still. Is that what you told them? That their father abandoned them? I told them the truth. That sometimes people aren't ready to be parents, and that sometimes a family with one parent who loves them completely is better than a family with 2 parents where one doesn't want to be there. And you think I wouldn't have wanted to be there? You think if I'd known about Maya and Grace specifically, if I'd seen them and held them and watched them grow, I would have chosen to walk away? I think you already proved what you choose when faced with the reality of children. One child, Sarah? A hypothetical child that was a concept, not a reality. These are real little girls with faces and personalities, and... He stopped, running his hands through his hair again. I need to see them. What? Before I agree to perform the surgery, I need to meet my daughters. I need to see them, talk to them, understand what I'm fighting for. Sarah felt panic rise in her chest. You can't just walk into their hospital room and announce you're their father. They're sick and scared, and I'm not going to tell them who I am. Not yet. I'll examine them as their doctor, get a sense of their condition and their personalities. He stood, moving around the desk toward her. Sarah, you have to understand. I'm about to perform the most complex surgery of my career on children I've never met. I need to see them as more than just medical cases. And if you don't like what you see, if they're not what you expected, what then? Harrison stopped just in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Different now, more expensive, but somehow still familiar. Then I'll still save their lives because that's what doctors do. But Sarah, I don't think you understand what you're asking me to do here. I'm asking you to save my daughters. You're asking me to cut open the hearts of children I've never held, never spoken to, never seen smile. You're asking me to be responsible for their lives when I don't even know if Maya prefers chocolate or vanilla ice cream, or whether Grace is afraid of thunderstorms. The specificity of his examples hit her unexpectedly. Maya did prefer chocolate. Grace was terrified of thunderstorms. Those things don't matter for surgery. They matter for everything else. They matter for caring enough to fight for every breath, every heartbeat, every chance at life. His voice was passionate now, the professional mask completely gone. I need to know them, Sarah. Even if it's only for a few minutes. Even if I never get the chance again. Sarah closed her eyes, weighing impossible choices. Let Harrison meet his daughters before surgery, risking their emotional stability at the worst possible time? Or keep them separated, risking that he might not fight hard enough for strangers? They can't know who you are, she said finally. Not yet. Not until after the surgery when we know they're going to be okay. Agreed. And you examine them as Dr. Chun, their surgeon. Nothing more. Understood. And Harrison, she opened her eyes to meet his gaze directly. If you hurt them, if you do anything to make them feel worse than they already do, I will make sure you never see them again. I won't hurt them, Sarah. I couldn't. There. He paused, and when he continued, his voice was soft with wonder. They're mine. An hour later, Sarah walked through the corridors of Children's Hospital with Harrison beside her, his presence both comforting and terrifying. He'd changed into scrubs and carried himself with the confident authority of a man accustomed to making life and death decisions. But she could see the tension in his shoulders, the careful control in his expression. Are they awake? He asked as they approached the room. Maya is. Grace was sleeping when I left, but she might be up by now. Sarah paused outside the door. Harrison, they're going to look like you. A lot like you. Are you prepared for that? I don't think anyone can be prepared for seeing their children for the first time. Sarah pushed open the door, and Harrison got his first glimpse of Maya and Grace. Maya was sitting up in bed, her dark hair tangled around her face, working on a crossword puzzle with the intense concentration that characterized everything she did. Grace was indeed awake, reading a book that looked far too advanced for a 7-year-old, her small face serious and thoughtful. Both girls looked up when they entered, and Sarah watched Harrison's face as he took in their features, the eyes that were unmistakably his, the shape of their faces, the way Maya tilted her head when she was curious, just like he did. "Girls, this is Dr. Chun," Sarah said, her voice carefully steady. "He's the surgeon who's going to help make your hearts better." Maya studied Harrison with the fearless directness that had gotten her in trouble since she could talk. "Are you the best heart doctor in the world?" Harrison moved closer to her bed, his expression gentle. "I'm very good at fixing hearts that don't work properly, especially hearts like yours." "Will it hurt?" Grace asked softly, looking up from her book. "You'll be asleep during the surgery, so you won't feel anything then. Afterward, there will be some discomfort, but we have very good medicine to help with that. Mama says you're the only doctor who can save us," Maya said matter-of-factly. "That must make you pretty special." Sarah saw Harrison swallow hard before answering. "What makes me special is that I get to help brave girls like you and Grace get better." "Are we really brave?" Grace asked. "I don't feel brave. I feel scared." Harrison knelt beside her bed, bringing himself to her eye level. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what you need to do even when you are scared. And you're here, letting doctors help you, trusting us to take care of you. That's very brave." Grace smiled, a small, shy smile that transformed her serious little face into something radiant. Sarah watched Harrison's expression and saw the exact moment he fell completely in love with his daughter. "Dr. Chun, do you have any kids?" Maya asked with her characteristic bluntness. Harrison's eyes flicked to Sarah before returning to Maya. "No, I don't. But I think having children would be the most wonderful thing in the world." "You should get some," Maya advised seriously. "Kids are pretty great once you get used to them." "Maya," Sarah laughed despite the emotional tension. "You can't just tell people to get children." "Why not? He seems nice. And he's really tall, so his kids would probably be good at basketball." Harrison was quiet as he examined both girls, listening to their hearts with a stethoscope, checking their charts, asking gentle questions about their symptoms. Sarah watched him work, seeing the careful professional who'd become one of the country's leading surgeons, but also catching glimpses of wonder and paternal protectiveness that he couldn't quite hide. "When will you do the surgery?" Grace asked as he finished his examination. "In 2 days. That will give us time to prepare everything perfectly. Will you fix us both at the same time?" "No, sweetheart. Maya will go first, and then Grace. That way I can give each of you my complete attention." "What if something goes wrong?" Maya asked with the directness that sometimes made adults uncomfortable. Harrison sat on the edge of her bed, his expression serious and honest. "I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure nothing goes wrong. I've done this surgery many times before, and I've never lost a patient. Never, never. And I don't intend to start with you too. Promise," Grace whispered. Harrison looked at this little girl who shared his eyes and his serious nature, and Sarah saw him make a commitment that went far beyond professional obligation. "I promise, Grace. I promise both of you." Have you ever had to ask for help from someone who hurt you deeply? The courage it takes is unimaginable. If you're feeling Sarah's pain right now, show some love with a like and tell me in the comments about a time you had to choose love over pride. After they left the hospital room, Harrison was quiet during the elevator ride down to the lobby. Finally, as they stepped outside into the afternoon sunshine, he spoke. "They're extraordinary." "Yes, they are. Maya has your spirit. That fearlessness, that determination to face whatever comes. And Grace has your thoughtfulness. The way you used to analyze everything before making a decision." They walked toward the parking garage in silence, both processing what had just happened. "Sarah, I need you to know something before the surgery." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "What?" "In there, meeting them, seeing them. I've never wanted anything more than I want to save their lives. Not any career achievement, not any recognition, nothing. They're the most important thing I've ever been asked to do." "They're not things, Harrison. They're not achievements. They're little girls who need their surgeon to be steady and skilled, not emotional. You're right. But I also need you to know that no matter what happens after this, whether you let me be part of their lives or not, these 2 days have already changed me completely. How? 8 years ago, I thought success meant building something that would last, leaving a legacy in medicine. But today, looking at Maya and Grace, I realized my real legacy was already here. It's been here all along. Sarah felt tears threatening again. Harrison, I'm not asking for forgiveness, Sarah. I'm not even asking for a second chance, though I want one more than I've ever wanted anything. I'm just asking you to let me save our daughters. Let me be the father they need for these next few days, even if I never get to be anything more. Standing there in the afternoon sun, looking at the man who'd broken her heart, but who might be the only one who could heal her children's hearts, Sarah nodded. Okay, save them, Harrison. Save our daughters. I will, he said, and for the first time in 8 years, Sarah believed in his promises again. I swear to you I will. The night before Maya's surgery, Sarah found herself unable to sleep. She sat in the family lounge at 2 a.m., staring out at the city lights while her daughters slept peacefully in their room, monitored by machines that tracked their failing hearts. Can't sleep either? She turned to find Harrison standing in the doorway, still in scrubs from a late surgery, exhaustion evident in his posture, but his eyes alert with the same restless energy she felt. Too much to think about, she replied, making room on the small couch. He sat beside her, careful to maintain distance, but close enough that she could feel his presence like a physical warmth. I've been going over the surgical plan for the 100th time. Every possible complication, every contingency. Are you nervous? Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Terrified, he admitted finally. I've never operated on my own children before. Hell, I've never had children before. The stakes have never been this personal. Maybe you shouldn't, no? His voice was firm. I'm the best chance they have, and I won't let my emotions compromise their care. But Sarah, I need you to understand something. What? If something goes wrong, if despite everything I do, they don't? He couldn't finish the sentence. I need to know that you don't blame me, that you know I would give my own life to save theirs. Sarah studied his profile in the dim light. Seeing the man she'd once loved struggling with fears she understood all too well. I've watched you work before, remember? In medical school, during your residency interviews. I know how good you are, Harrison. I know you'll do everything humanly possible. What if everything humanly possible isn't enough? Then we'll face that together. But I believe you'll save them. I have to believe it. They sat in silence, two parents united in their fear and hope, watching the city sleep while their children fought for their lives. Tell me about them, Harrison said softly. Tell me about Maya and Grace growing up. I want to know everything I missed. Sarah hesitated, then began to speak, her voice soft with memory. Maya walked first, at 10 months. She just stood up one day and decided she was done crawling. Grace waited until she was 11 months, but when she finally walked, she never fell. She'd studied Maya's technique and figured out how to do it perfectly. That sounds like them. Maya the pioneer, Grace the strategist. Their first word was book. Both of them. I read to them every night from the time they were born. Sarah smiled at the memory. Grace still reads everything she can get her hands on. Maya prefers audiobooks while she's building things or drawing. Building things. She wants to be an architect. Says she's going to design houses that can't fall down, no matter what. Sarah's voice caught. She's been obsessed with permanence since she was tiny. Things that last, things that stay. Harrison was quiet, understanding the implication. Maya's need for permanence likely stemmed from never having a father who stayed. And Grace. Grace wants to be a teacher. She's been tutoring kids in her class since kindergarten. She has this gift for explaining things in ways that make sense to other children. They sound incredible. They are. They're funny and smart and kind and... Sarah wiped away tears she hadn't realized were falling. Harrison, they have to be okay. I can't imagine a world without them in it. They will be okay, he said with quiet conviction. I promise you, Sarah, they will be okay. Maya's surgery began at 7 a.m. sharp. Sarah had kissed her daughter goodbye in the pre-op room, watching as the anesthesia took effect and Maya's fierce little face relaxed into peaceful sleep. Take care of her, Sarah whispered to Harrison as they wheeled Maya toward the operating room. With my life, he replied, and she believed him. The surgery was scheduled to take 6 to 8 hours. Sarah spent the first hour pacing the family waiting room, the second hour staring at medical magazines without reading them, and the third hour calling her mother, her best friend, anyone who could help fill the terrifying silence. At the 4-hour mark, a surgical nurse came out to give her an update. Everything is going very well. Dr. Chun has successfully completed the first phase of the reconstruction. Maya's vital signs are strong. Sarah felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. How much longer? Probably another 3 to 4 hours. The second phase is the most delicate part. More waiting, more pacing, more prayers to whatever gods might be listening. At hour 6, Dr. Peterson from Children's Hospital stopped by to check on her. Any word? Good so far. They're in the second phase now. Harrison Chun is the best, Sarah. If anyone can save them, it's him. I know. She trailed off, unable to voice her deepest fear. You're afraid to hope too much? I'm afraid to lose them. They're everything to me, Dr. Peterson. Everything. And that's exactly why they're going to fight so hard to come back to you. At hour 7.5, Harrison himself appeared in the waiting room, still in surgical scrubs, but with his mask down. His face was exhausted, but triumphant. She's okay, he said before Sarah could ask. Maya is okay. The surgery was successful. Sarah felt her knees buckle with relief. Harrison caught her arms, steadying her as the full weight of fear she'd been carrying for hours finally lifted. She's really okay? Her heart is working perfectly. Better than perfectly, actually. She's going to recover completely. When can I see her? She's in recovery now. Another hour or so before she wakes up, but you can sit with her if you'd like. Sarah followed Harrison through the hospital corridors to the cardiac recovery unit, where Maya lay pale but peaceful, connected to monitors that showed strong, steady vital signs. Her heart sounds beautiful, Harrison said softly, offering Sarah the stethoscope. Listen. Sarah listened to her daughter's heart, strong, rhythmic, healthy, and felt tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for saving her. Thank you for letting me, Harrison replied. Tomorrow we do the same for Grace. Grace's surgery the next day went even more smoothly than Maya's. Harrison's confidence was higher, his technique refined by the previous day's success. The operation took only 6 hours, and when he emerged from the OR this time, he was smiling. Perfect, he announced. Grace's surgery went perfectly. Her heart is even stronger than Maya's was post-op. This time, Sarah didn't just feel relief. She felt overwhelming gratitude toward the man who had just saved both her daughters' lives. Harrison, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. They're my daughters too. The simple statement, spoken without defensiveness or demand, hit Sarah with unexpected force. They were his daughters. Despite everything that had happened between them, despite 8 years of absence, Harrison had proven himself when it mattered most. Yes, she said quietly. They are. 3 days later, both girls were awake, alert, and demanding to know when they could go home. Maya, true to form, was already planning her return to soccer. Grace was reading medical textbooks, fascinated by her own surgery. Dr. Chun, Maya called when Harrison came for his evening rounds. Grace wants to know if you can teach her to do heart surgery too. She's 7 years old, Maya, Sarah laughed. So? She's really smart. And she said she wants to help other kids like us. Harrison knelt beside Grace's bed. Is that true? You want to be a doctor? Grace nodded seriously. I want to help people the way you helped us. You saved our lives. Well, you'll need to study very hard in school, especially science and math. I'm already the best in my class at math, Grace said matter-of-factly. Maya's better at reading, but I'm better at numbers. What about you, Maya? What do you want to be when you grow up? I still want to build houses. But now I also want to build hospitals. Places where doctors like you can save kids like us. Sarah watched Harrison's face as he talked with his daughters, seeing the wonder and love and paternal pride that he couldn't hide. These conversations, she realized, were what he'd missed for 8 years. The dreams and plans and innocent wisdom of children who saw the world as full of possibilities. Dr. Chun, Grace's small voice interrupted her thoughts. Are you married? Grace, Sarah said quickly. That's a personal question. It's okay, Harrison said gently. No, Grace, I'm not married. Why not? You're really nice, and you're a good doctor, and you're not ugly. Grace, Sarah and Maya said simultaneously, while Harrison tried not to laugh. What? He's not ugly. He looks like us, and Mama always says we're beautiful. She's got a point, Maya added helpfully. You should probably get married and have kids. You're really good with kids. Harrison's eyes met Sarah's across the room, a moment of shared amusement and something deeper passing between them. Maybe someday, Harrison said softly, if I'm lucky enough to find the right person who would want to have a family with me. What kind of person would you want to marry? Maya asked with the relentless curiosity of a 7-year-old. Someone kind and strong and smart. Someone who would be a wonderful mother. Someone who could teach me how to be a good father. Sarah felt her breath catch at the pointed way he didn't look at her while saying this. That sounds like Mama, Grace observed with devastating innocence. Mama is kind and strong and smart, and she's the best mother in the world. She certainly is, Harrison agreed, finally meeting Sarah's eyes. Your mother is an extraordinary woman. That evening, after the girls had fallen asleep, Sarah and Harrison found themselves alone in the family lounge again. The successful surgeries had shifted something between them, lowered defenses that had been in place for 8 years. They're going to be completely fine, Harrison said, reviewing their charts one more time. Full recovery, no restrictions on activity once they're healed. They can play soccer, run, do anything other children do. And the genetic component? Well, they need to worry about their own children someday. The specific defect they had isn't typically hereditary in the way it manifested. Their children should be fine, but we'll monitor them carefully when the time comes. Sarah nodded, then found herself asking the question she'd been avoiding. What happens now, Harrison? After they're discharged, after we go home? What do you want to happen? I don't know. She was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. A week ago, if someone had told me you'd be back in our lives, I would have said absolutely not. The hurt was too deep, the trust too broken. And now I've watched you save my daughter's lives. I've seen you fall in love with them, seen them respond to you in ways I never expected. She looked at him directly. I've seen the man you've become, and he's not the same person who walked away 8 years ago. No, he's not. 8 years of success taught me that none of it means anything without people to share it with. These past few days, getting to know Maya and Grace, seeing the incredible job you've done raising them. Sarah, I want to be part of their lives. Part of your life, if you'll let me. It won't be easy. They don't know you're their father yet, and when they find out, there will be questions. Anger, probably. Confusion about why you weren't there before. I know. And I'll answer every question honestly. I'll tell them I was young and scared and made the biggest mistake of my life. I'll tell them that not a day has gone by that I haven't regretted walking away from their mother. And what about us, Harrison? What about you and me? Harrison was quiet for a long moment, studying her face in the soft light. I still love you, Sarah. I never stopped loving you. But I also know that love isn't enough if there isn't trust. And I know I have to earn that trust back. Yes, you do. So I'll start wherever you're comfortable starting. As Maya and Grace's father, if that's all you can give me right now. As a friend, as a co-parent, as whatever you need me to be while I prove that I'm not going anywhere this time. And if I said I wanted to try? If I said that watching you with our daughters has reminded me of why I fell in love with you in the first place? Harrison's breath caught. I'd say that you've just given me the greatest gift of my life. Again, it won't be the same as it was before. I don't want it to be the same. We're different people now. Better people, I hope. And Maya and Grace. They've made us a family whether we were ready or not. Sarah smiled, feeling something she hadn't experienced in 8 years. Hope for a future that included the man sitting beside her. We'll have to tell them soon. About you being their father. How do you think they'll react? Maya will probably punch you in the arm and demand to know where you've been. Grace will have 1,000 questions and want a detailed explanation of your decision-making process. And after that, they'll probably love you completely and unconditionally, the way children do when they decide you belong to them. The way I already love them. Yes, Sarah said softly. The way you already love them. This is what love looks like, putting everything on the line for those who matter most. If this story is touching your heart, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to remember that love conquers all, even our deepest mistakes. 2 weeks later, Maya and Grace were discharged from the hospital with clean bills of health and instructions to take it easy for another month. Instructions Maya immediately began negotiating around. But Dr. Chen said our hearts are perfect now, she argued as Sarah buckled her into the car seat. Perfect hearts can play soccer. Perfect hearts that just had major surgery need time to heal completely, Sarah replied firmly. What if I promise to only use my feet and not my heart? That's not how hearts work, sweetheart. Harrison appeared at the car window, having insisted on personally discharging his patients. Everything okay here? Maya wants to play soccer tomorrow, Grace reported. I told her that's medically inadvisable during the recovery period. Grace is correct, Harrison said seriously. But Maya, in about 4 more weeks, you'll be cleared for all activities. And when that happens, I'd love to come watch you play, if that's okay with your mom. Maya's eyes widened. Really? You'd come to my games? Absolutely. I hear you're quite the midfielder. I am. I scored 3 goals in our last game before I got sick. I can't wait to see that in action. Sarah watched this exchange with emotions she couldn't quite name. Harrison was so natural with the girls, so genuinely interested in their lives and dreams. It was easy to imagine him at soccer games and school plays, helping with homework and bandaging scraped knees. Dr. Chen? Grace's voice was thoughtful. Will you still be our doctor after we're all better? I'll always be your doctor if you need me to be. But Grace, there's something your mother and I need to talk to you and Maya about. Something important. What? Both girls asked simultaneously. Sarah and Harrison exchanged glances. They'd planned to have this conversation at home, but the moment felt right. Girls, Sarah began carefully. Dr. Chen isn't just your doctor. He's your father. The silence in the car was absolute. Maya stared at Harrison with wide eyes while Grace's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, confusion, hurt, and finally, a 7-year-old's logic clicking into place. You're our daddy? Maya asked in a small voice. Yes, Harrison said gently. I'm your daddy. I know this is confusing and probably scary. Where have you been? The question came from Grace, asked with devastating directness. Harrison had prepared for this question, but hearing it from his daughter's lips still felt like a physical blow. I was far away, being a doctor and learning how to do the surgery that saved your hearts. But Grace, I should have been here with you and Maya and your mom. I made a big mistake by not being here. Why didn't you want to be here? Maya asked. It wasn't that I didn't want to be here. I was young and scared and didn't know how to be a daddy. I thought you'd be better off without me. That was stupid, Maya said matter-of-factly. We're awesome. Everyone wants to be around us. Despite the emotional tension, Sarah found herself smiling. Leave it to Maya to state the obvious with such confidence. You're absolutely right, Harrison agreed. It was very stupid. And I'm sorry I missed so much time with you. Are you going to stay now? Grace asked, cutting to the heart of what mattered. If you want me to stay, if your mom says it's okay, then yes. I want to stay and be your daddy for real this time. Of course we want you to stay, Maya said, as if this were the most obvious thing in the world. You saved our lives. And you look like us. And Mama smiles different when you're around. I do not, Sarah protested. You do too, Grace agreed with her sister. It's a happy smile. You haven't smiled like that since, well, ever that I remember. So it's settled then, Maya announced. Dr. Chun is our daddy, and he's staying, and Mama's happy, and our hearts are fixed. Can we go home now? I want to show Daddy my room. And I want to show him my books, Grace added. Do you like to read, Daddy? Daddy. The word hit Harrison like lightning. 8 years of longing condensed into one simple syllable. I love to read, he managed to say. And I can't wait to see both your rooms and hear about everything I've missed. 6 months later, Harrison had restructured his entire life around his family. He'd moved his practice closer to their home, reduced his surgery schedule to allow for school events and family dinners, and learned the intricate art of braiding hair, Grace, and building elaborate pillow forts, Maya. Sarah watched him navigate parenthood with the same intensity he brought to surgery, completely committed, constantly learning, determined to excel. He attended every soccer game, helped with homework, read bedtime stories, and somehow made the transition from stranger to father look effortless. Their own relationship had developed more slowly, built on friendship and co-parenting before gradually evolving into something deeper. They'd had long conversations about trust and forgiveness, about building something new rather than trying to recapture what they'd lost. "Mama, are you and Daddy going to get married?" Maya asked one evening as Sarah tucked her into bed. "Would you like that?" "Yes. Then we'd be a real family." "We're already a real family, sweetheart. Families come in all different shapes. But it would be nice if Daddy lived here all the time instead of just most of the time." Sarah smiled. Harrison had been spending more and more nights at their house, officially for practical reasons, but really because none of them liked being apart. "We'll see," Sarah said diplomatically. "That means yes in grown-up language," Maya said with satisfaction. "Grace and I already planned the wedding. You'll wear a pretty dress. Daddy will cry because he cries at everything now, and we'll be flower girls." "When did you two become wedding planners?" "Since we decided we want a baby brother or sister. But Daddy said we have to be married first." Sarah nearly choked. "He said what?" "We asked him if you could have more babies, and he got all red and said that was something for grown-ups to decide. But if it happened, you'd have to be married first because that's the right way to do things." From the doorway, Harrison's voice carried a mix of amusement and embarrassment. "I see Maya's been sharing our private conversations." "Daddy," Maya launched herself at him for her goodnight hug. "I told Mama about the wedding and the baby. I heard. Maybe next time we should keep some things between us until the grown-ups are ready to talk about them." "Okay, but you are going to marry Mama, right? Because we already told all our friends you're our daddy, and now they want to know when you're getting married." Harrison met Sarah's eyes over Maya's head, a question in his expression. "Well," Sarah found herself asking, "are you going to marry me, Dr. Chin? Is that a proposal, Miss Chun?" "Maybe. Depends on your answer." "Yes," he said simply. "Yes to marrying you. Yes to more children if you want them. Yes to everything this family needs from me." Even when Maya decides she wants to try out for the travel soccer team and Grace wants to start a science club at school. Especially then, Maya squealed with delight and ran to get Grace, who had undoubtedly been listening from her room anyway. "We're getting married," Maya announced as Grace appeared in the doorway. "I know," Grace said calmly. "I heard the whole thing. When's the wedding?" "We just got engaged 30 seconds ago," Sarah laughed. "But we've been planning this for months," Maya protested. "Everything's ready." Harrison pulled Sarah into his arms, his daughters clustering around them in a family hug that felt 8 years overdue and absolutely perfect. "I love you," he whispered in her ear. "All of you. Thank you for giving me the chance to come home." "Thank you for saving us," Sarah replied. "All of us." And as their daughters chattered excitedly about wedding plans and baby names, and whether their new sibling would need heart surgery too, Grace's scientific concern, or just be really good at soccer, Maya's priority, Sarah realized that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about perfect timing or flawless people. Sometimes they're about broken hearts learning to beat again, about forgiveness that heals deeper than any surgery, and about families that form not in spite of their scars, but because of them. Sometimes our greatest failures prepare us for our most important victories. Harrison learned that success means nothing if you're not there for the people who need you most. Sarah discovered that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing hope for the future. Their story teaches us that love doesn't always look like a fairy tale. Sometimes it looks like showing up when it matters most, even when it's hard. What broken relationship in your life needs healing? What pride are you holding on to that's keeping you from love? If this story inspired you to choose forgiveness over resentment, show it with a like, subscribe for more powerful stories of redemption, and share this with someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to make things right.